I just finished watching All Monsters Attack from 1969, and I gotta say, it's pretty bad. It's not as bad as Superfly TNT or Horror Frankenstein, but it's pretty bad. I don't usually talk about the opening credits, but I really feel this has to be mentioned. So, opening song, the Monster March, starts out really promising. It really feels like it's gonna be intense, but then my poor eardrums. So we start with a latchy kid named Ichiro Miki, played by Tomonori Yazaki, walking home from school one day. Unfortunately, he has to take care of himself most of the time because his parents are working a lot, so that way they can get out of the dump that they're living in. Yeah, unfortunately, back in those days, Japan was pretty polluted. Speaking of pollution, foreshadowing? I think so. To add on to Ichiro's troubled life, he's frequently bullied by a guy named Sanko, aka Gabra, played by Junichi Ito, who steals his things pretty frequently. So, using a toy radio, Ichiro imagines that he's on Monster Island. And what are we met with? Stock footage of Godzilla facing off against Kamacuras. Because why not? They also waste the appearances of Gorosaurus, Manda, and Anguirus. And remember the giant condor for Abir Horror of the Deep? Well, apparently he's an eagle now. And after some work, stock footage of Kamacuras, Ichiro falls in a hole, only to be saved by Manila. After talking with him for a little bit, we get our first look at the kaiju villain, Gabara, basically the kaiju equivalent of Sanko. The next morning, Ichiro was waken up by his babysitter, essentially, Shinpei, played by Kenji Sahara, who was also a toy maker. And after doing some suggestive things with the car, he goes inside an abandoned building and dozes off again. After Ichiro meets up with Manila again, the two watch stock footage fights of Abira and Kumanga against Godzilla. Oh, and by the way, do you want to know how much stock footage takes up this entire movie? Out of the 70 minutes this movie has, 7 of them are stock footage. That's over 10%! How lazy can you get? Anyway, now we're moving on to the first kaiju fight in the movie. That's not stock footage. Manila versus Gabra. But unfortunately, Manila gets his ass handed to him. Just then, we see Godzilla fighting against a bunch of red bamboo planes. And then, after Godzilla teaches Manila how to fire his atomic breath again, Ichiro is caught in a bunch of plants. But it's really just a bunch of bank robbers kidnapping him. Oh yeah, I didn't mention this subplot because it's entirely useless to the movie. So apparently they stole like 50 million yen in a car or something, but at this point I literally don't even care anymore. Ichiro dozes off again, and we see Manila being harassed by Gabra again. Manila tries to get his father help, but he's like, you gotta face your own battles, dude. Ichiro and Manila then use a makeshift seesaw from a downed tree branch, and Gabra is sent flying into the air. Godzilla congratulates his son, but gets bitten hard in the thigh by Gabra, sending him into a rage to the point where he gets yeeted across the forest again. Gabra leaves, Godzilla reaches for Ichiro, which is really just the bank robbers gagging him again, and so Ichiro escapes. He then fights the bullies in one of the worst fights I've ever seen. Like, it's literally just still frames with very minor points of moving image. He then does what the bullies want. Honk a painter painting a billboard before fleeing. So what did we learn from this movie?
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
Overall, there are some plot points that are completely pointless. The kaiju scenes are pretty lackluster, especially compared to the last 9 movies, and the human drama is pretty dull. Overall, I give this one a 3 out of 10. 2 of them are the kaiju scenes.